Hey everyone, it's Matt the Dice Chucker from the Literary Gamers coming to you today with another Under the Radar episode. Now, today we're taking a look at a game, and I guess I should tell you what my qualifications are for Under the Radar, and I'm just checking to make sure that everything is good here in my notes. Under the Radar for me is a game that exists at rank 5,000 and below. Last week we took a look at Ghostbusters and Men in Black, and that game is around I'm seeing it right here now, the 15,000s. And I'm not sure if that game will ever rise any higher due to the fact that it's a dead game. Today we're jumping up a little bit, taking a look at a game that exists in the 7,000s, and that is Kilt Castle, published by Zoch Spielen, and designed by Gunter Burkhardt. And this is a game where you're going to be taking cards and kind of flinging them around, moving them around the board to build little castles, trying to create little plots of land that are yours that show your crest on them. So why don't we head down to the table, take a look at how it plays, and then when we come back, we'll get my thoughts on it.
Alright, I'm interrupting this video because I heard a dirty rumor that over 80% of you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. What's holding you back? There's a tiny little red button underneath this video that says subscribe, and then there's a tiny little bell where you'll get a notification on your devices that tells you when you should be watching our videos. And if you watch our videos and subscribe, then you'll be kept up with all the content, do all the things. I can't list them off because there's so many things. Just go and do the things. Alright, bye.
So here we have a game of Kilt Castle set up for either 2 or 4 players. There's a slight setup change when it comes to 3 players. The difference in 2 players is that you are going to be picking 2 of the 4 colors. Otherwise, in a straight 4-player game, it's just choose the color you would like. Now, the object of the game is to have the most money. You start with 10, and you're going to be spending and gaining this money in various different ways, as you would in every single other board game that has you winning by money or victory points. And sometimes you are spending victory points. We'll be talking about Dog Park in a few weeks. Anyway, on your turn, you are going to do 2 actions, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to relocate one of these building cards. All right, these are cards that are in the 4-player colors. What you're going to do on your turn is you are going to take one of them and you're going to move it to any space either adjacent to the card or on top of one of these other cards. There are a few rules when placing the cards. Now, the first thing is if you place a card in the front position so that it's just by itself, there has to be at least 1 card next to it. So if I take this card here and I put it over here, there has to be at least a card next to it. I could not do that. And you can't move backwards. I could not do that. So, and I can't remember how it was. The other rule is that when you place a card in a row, and as just for example, let's see, this is here, you cannot place a card in a row so that it has 5 cards in a row. And the last thing is that there can never be any more than 5 card rows on the table. So let's say we had this, and then the next player wanted to do this. That would be 6 rows. That's a no. You can't do that. All right. It does matter how you place cards with the double colors. So for example, if I wanted to take this card here, it has orange and gray, or I guess that's tan. We got tan, gray, orange, and red. I guess that's what I'm going to call them. So what you do when you pick the card up like this as the player, you have to spin it and then move it to where you want to move it. And so let's say I did move it here, that I wanted to do that. So now that you've placed your building card, you are going to build. Who builds first? So first, if it's a singular color card, you are just going to build. Let's see one thing here. So you only build on the row that the card was just placed. So you can always build on the first empty space for free. So let's say this was placed there and it wasn't there at the beginning of the game. You would take one of your building tiles, talk about those in a second, and just put it down there for free. That costs you nothing. Or you can overbuild. And that's where we're going to talk about this card here as it was placed like this. Let's say this player did that. They could choose to overbuild here. Doing that, they would have to pay gray 1 coin. You count all the overbuilt floors and you give the coins to the players whose floor was on top. So if orange wanted to overbuild here, it would pay tan 2 coins. All right. Yes, 2 coins to tan only, not to gray. All right. But we're not doing that. Let's say that the card was placed here. Even though the card was like this, with the orange in the front, when you spin it, it's whoever's in the front of the card you just placed that gets to build. So tan could choose to overbuild, or, and I'm just throwing things now, you could build on the next free space. Now, if both players build on the same space, in that case orange would give tan 1 coin, then you would put a roof onto that tower for now. All right. Roofs are basically there to kind of slow down the building on one space. When you need to place down a third roof, because the game only comes with 2, you get to choose which one to remove to put it on the spot that it just needed to be built. All right. Now, once any row has been completely depleted, we go into what's called a coin day. And let me set some stuff up here a little bit. None of the cards are going to match, so before you start tapping away in the comments, understand that I know none of the cards are going to match. I'm just doing this for example. All right. And I give you some stickers to show what's going on with this here. You do have to sticker this game when you get it, but there's only a handful of them, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. All right. Let's just some gray. All right, so the first thing you do on a coin day is you determine your most valuable building area. So for gray, first of all, it's towers of your own color from the top down. So, of course, this is all tan, not red, and then 2 up. So we would have 3 gray there. It's 1 coin per tower, per crest, and roof. That's what you're going to be getting. All right. So, for example, gray would get 3 coins. Orange, believe it or not, is tied for how much they would have because they have 1 tower and then 2 crests on their tower. And this over here are 2 towers with 1 crest. And then, of course, if orange had this, then this would be the most valuable area. We have 2 towers, a crest there, and a tower, which gives it 4 over the 3 over here. And so after you get that coin day done, you will be going around as normal, taking turns after that. Of course, this sigil is always up when you are in building phase. When a coin phase is going to happen, you flip this over to remind everyone that at the end of the round, you're going to do a coin phase or a coin day. In fact, the person who did it usually takes this and puts it in front of them so we all remember who the next person in line was. So, that's pretty much Kilt Castle. Whoever has the most coins at the end of the game is going to be the winner. And let's head back down to the table and see what I thought. So that is Kilt Castle, once again, published by Zoch Spielen and designed by Gunter Burkhardt. Now, this is what I would consider to be an abstract game. There's not a lot of theme going on here. You're taking a card and you're moving it around the board. When you have a double, you flip it because, remember, it's always when you move the card, whichever card is first gets to build. I actually thought there was a lot of neat stuff going on here. Now, I had not ever seen, I say that because I'm sure someone out there has. I haven't yet seen in any other game where you are moving the cards as a mechanic to the actions that you're selecting around a board and how that stretches out and creates new plots of land for you. And there's a lot of pressure because thinking about it too, okay, I want to build here, but someone's already built in the space. But if I give them one coin, I can profit more during a coin day. Or maybe if I do this and we can put a tower on it, no one's going to profit on that until somebody moves that tower. So there's a lot going on here, thinky-wise. Now, in a two-player game, you play as two different colors. I'm not sure about the three, but in a two-player game, you play as two separate colors. So sometimes what you're doing is you're really consistently setting yourself up to do something. Not to do something, to build something the way you want. It is an incredibly simple game. The rules are a little funky in the way it's presented. It's not the easiest to understand right off the bat, but then again, it's mainly about trying just to decipher what's going on. And once you do figure out what's going on, it's quite interesting the way that these mechanics kind of move. The way that the cards line up, really all interesting. I don't have much more to say about this than just it's a really neat, not tiny, it's in a big box as you can see, but I don't think it needed to be in this big of a box. It probably could have survived if it was something a little smaller. Not too much smaller because that board does need to be fairly large. Do I have any negatives about the game? What I would say is it's tough when you're two players and they make you, I call it double fisting it. But I see why they make you do that. I don't think this game could even be playable at two if they didn't have the rule in there that you have to play as two colors. There were just turns, though, where Jen would consistently play cards that both of us could build while I'm over there in the corner just making sure that I can move cards that only I can build off of. So it's got that kind of take that style thing. Sure, I'm going to pay you to build on top of your building here, but you have no idea that I'm actually going to profit so much off of what's going on here. So, and about the coin day, I think, let me just check something here. And it just kind of creating those patterns. I think I had a massive plot of land by the end of one of our games, and I was just, I think, snagging 15 coins just for that one color over and over again. And I was purposely forcing the coin days at that point. I don't understand that is part of the strategy, and that's part of what's going on here. It's not that the game is broken. It's not that there's a flaw in the design. That's how it's supposed to be. Whoever's the most coins is the winner. I will say right now, I'm not a huge fan of when people go, oh, I found the strategy that makes the game broken. You're making too much money off of this action. Well, when the object of the game is to have the most money, it's not a broken thing, okay? It is a mistake was made on the other player's part not to let that large plot of land happen, okay? So there's a lot of strategy in that. A lot of people just think because they lost a game is broken, and that's not the case. A game is only broken when the designer goes, oh, I need to fix that or else everyone's going to do it. And there are a few out there. I'm not denying that. But I will push back and say I don't think games are broken when the strategy of how to win is being taken advantage of by one player. That's not a broken strategy. That's other players not paying attention. Go ahead and dislike the video because of that as much as you want, or say in the comments how little I know. I don't care. Go ahead. Have fun. Have at it. But Kilt Castle, first off, fairly themeless. You could put any type of castle on this, not kilts, and it would still be the same. I like the 3D element of it. Did it say if there was a floor limit? I thought it was 4, but I can't remember where I saw that. Anyway, but yeah, Kilt Castle. It's a lot of fun, and it's really neat to see how things kind of morph around this board. And yes, I believe you only go around once. You have a final coin day, and then, as soon as one player has built their last tower. Okay, so now the whole purpose of this Under the Radar to kind of highlight games that never really had a chance to be highlighted. And when it comes to Kilt Castle, I do highly recommend it. If you like abstracts, but you want something just a little bit more, then I would definitely go for this. Other games that I would say this isn't the next step from, things like Santorini. Santorini, you're just moving your pieces and you're building. 1, 2, done. Were you able to reach what you needed to do to win. Kilt Castle, I've got to pick a card. I've got to make sure it turns in the right direction. It's got to go in a specific spot. Got to make sure that the other player is not going to benefit from that before me. Okay, I don't want to move that there. So there's a lot more thinkiness to it, but it's still the same style of element and style of theme. As far as abstracts go, this one is definitely a keeper when I'm thinking about the way we rate games in this house. Games survive here for a number of different reasons. There's not any specific number we keep. Like, I know some gamers have a number out of 10 of how they want to keep their collection. Like, everything in this room should be at least an 8 out of 10. That's not how we operate. There are some games we own that we don't like, but we know other people in our friends and family circles do, and we know we're the only ones that have it. So, and of course, if your family isn't huge gamers and they come over, you're the one that has the game. They're not going to keep the game. They're not gamers. So we don't really put too much into the ranking here. And that being said, Kilt Castle is one we keep. Not because I think someone else will like it. I actually think it's a good game. I would rank it probably around a 7.75 to 8. I wouldn't say anything above an 8. As an abstract, of course, it has endless possibilities of how it's going to be played. There's no scenarios. There's no, oh, this is just the same setup every time. All the cards are placed out slightly differently, and then how everything plays past that is even more different. Is there anything else I want to say about Kilt Castle? I was pleasantly surprised by it. I was not expecting it to be a huge game. I happened upon it in my FLGS, and Jen and I both discovered that we have Scottish heritage, and I was like, well, it's not too pricey for just a shot, so let's see what happens. Brought it home. What an interesting little game. Once again, I think the box is too big for it, but I think a lot of Zoch und Spielen's games are that size. So they're trying to keep everything uniform. I appreciate that. Though Riff Raff, I think, is slightly larger. But you got to fit all the stuff in there. Anyway, that's Kilt Castle. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will do my best to address them as they come up. And don't forget to listen to the Pirate, everybody. We'll see you next time. I'm Matt the Dice Chucker, and you've been watching Literary Gamers.